can stakeholders encourage or inhibit change in an organization? Did you know that stakeholders have the power to either encourage and move your change initiative forward or almost stop it in its tracks? Well, in this video, you're gonna learn all about it. Let's get it. Stakeholders in an organization have the power to either encourage or inhibit change across an organization. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to define exactly what a stakeholder even is and the ways in which they can either nurture change or destroy it. So let's start by defining exactly what a stakeholder is. I don't know how many times in my professional career working in Fortune 500 corporations that I heard the term stakeholder and I didn't even know who they were talking about. I just assumed it was the really high-level executives. But in fact, a stakeholder is any individual that has a vested stake or interest in the success or failure of a change initiative, where their success metrics, their work plan, their bonuses, their salary are directly tied into whether or not that change is successful. And depending on the scale of the change in the organization, a stakeholder could be each and every individual across the organization. Everyone could have a vested interest in the success of the change. And honestly, that's the best kind of change because you can leverage the power and the influence across the entire organization. Now, I will mention there's also language like key stakeholders, and typically those are your higher level executives or managers. Those are the ones that are either solely responsible for making the change a success and have to directly deliver that success to the board, to shareholders. So there is a slight differentiation when you hear key stakeholders versus just stakeholders in a change. Next, let's talk about the ways in which a stakeholder could encourage or nurture a change moving forward. There's two ways. The first is their action. So being an example of actually embodying and embracing that change. The way they're showing up in the organization, actually taking part of all the changes that are going through, right? Showing up, behaving in a way that's in line with the behaviors that are going to nurture the change moving forward. That's the one part that a stakeholder can do. Now, the second one is through their communication, through their words. And so often it can be powerful to leverage stakeholders in success stories, whether that be an email highlight of someone who has embraced the change, actually done the behaviors that you need to nurture that change, and been successful, and then showing the success that they had. These case studies can be so powerful in motivating the rest of the organization because they're going to hear about a stakeholder engaging in the change, seeing their success, and they're going to want a piece of it. Okay, so this can be very, very powerful. So two ways encouraging this change forward, right? Their actions and their communication as a case study. Yo, if you're digging this content, if you never knew what a stakeholder meant, or maybe you're a stakeholder yourself, comment below. I want to hear about it. There might be even different definitions of stakeholder that I don't even know about. Put it in the comments below. Lastly, let's talk about how a stakeholder can inhibit a change moving forward. And this might be a little bit surprising. There's two ways. Through action, the way that they're behaving. If they're disengaging in the change, they're not actually committing to the behaviors that you want to help nurture the change, and their communication. So if you notice, it's the exact same way. It's all a choice. The way that they're showing up in the organization, whether their behaviors are in line with showing that change adoption, or if they're completely disengaged. So again, two ways, whether you inhibit or you encourage a change. And it all rests in the power of choice. You know, I can remember when I was a senior level executive working a huge innovation in the consumer packaged goods industry. And there was one leader of an organization that never showed up to the town hall meetings, right? The ones where I was actually sharing the progress of the change, you know, how it was going, the milestones and what's coming next. And those in his organization began taking note of that. And actually their numbers began to dwindle. They weren't nearly as engaged in that change initiative. So through that choice that he made in not joining those town halls and not showing that he was engaged and actually excited about the change, that then went and motivated those in the organization, or even demotivated those individuals to not want to engage in the change either. If he's not doing it, Why do I have to do it? And I do want to share a little tidbit about where it can get a little tricky, a little sticky. If you're a stakeholder in an organization and a change is coming down from senior level executives, perhaps it's a change that you don't necessarily agree with. You're not fully bought into the change. But this change has to happen. It's something that senior level executives have decided is going to happen. Well, as being a leader, as being a stakeholder in the organization, it's important you're still a part of a unified front. So perhaps you're not being inauthentic and sharing overly positivity or excitement, but you're at least being present in reviews and meetings, and you're still a part of that change, even though you might not agree with it fully. The time to share that level of disagreement or that you don't think it's the right decision is before the change has been communicated out to the whole organization. So try to get with your other stakeholders, maybe those key stakeholders, express, I think this is not the right decision, I'm not fully bought into it, and see if they can take some of that input. If after hearing your input, they still decide to move forward, as a stakeholder, as a leader in the organization, be a part of that unified front. Still be present within those meetings, within those town halls, to show your employees that you're still in with the change. Listen, if you dug this video, if you got value from its content, you gotta check out these other 2 videos. The first being, what is the role of leader in change? Click the video link above to check that video out. The second video that's really in tune with this same content is here. How does leadership influence change in an organization? Check out both of those videos if you got value from this content. I want to make sure that you have the insights, the research, and the data to enable your continued success and growth through even your most challenging and stressful change. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.